Let's go! Okay. It really does get a little bit intense, doesn't it, guys? Hello, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome to my new, refined, and truly perfect sorcerer build for not just Abattoir of Zir, but honestly, everything you could care to do. You are seeing me absolutely disintegrate a tier 10 in the background, not taking damage, and essentially just walking through it, and it feels good. I got to tier 10 on the first day that Abattoir launched, but it was brutal going. Compared to then, this is 3-4 times easier and faster. Yes, we have had the nerf patch too, but this new take on Ball Lightning is something special. It really is. And hey, doing a tier 10 puts you in the top 50 of all sorcerers, like literally 50, going by the official leaderboards. Now, of course, there will be sorcerers that don't care to put themselves on the leaderboards, but what I'm saying is, if you are doing a tier 10 or above, yeah, you're in a really good position, so well done you, and I am very happy to have done so with just a level 5 blood glyph compared to, like, the level 15, 20, 25 that people have in the higher tiers. As I said, as I've been away, I've not had the ridiculous amount of outreach to farm up the levels, so I wanted to make up that gap with sheer build theory crafting might, for it's what I love to do, and it's what I like to think I do best. So, I, of course, want to share with you my latest and greatest creation that really does dismantle the Abattoir. I mean, look how fast the tier 10 Bloodseekers are dying. It's really quite fun, and it gets to use one of my favourite enchantments in all of sorcererness in Ice Blades, which results in some absolutely ludicrous things. I mean, look at my ability bar right now. Look at the frequency I am pressing all of the things. Because of the increased health in Abattoir of Zir, it's the first time we've properly both been able to and had a reason to really tweak and bust this lovely synergy out, and it has worked better than you ever could have imagined. Along with a few new gear and unique changes that are really doing well from my testing, I am really pleased with this. You'll start seeing Ball Lightning tick to nearly 1,000,000 damage per, and that's again just with my level 5 blood glyph. If I got this up to level 10, level 15, I would very swimmingly walk to a tier 15 plus, which is about, you know, where I would be happy. I'm not sure I want to or care to put in the bajillion hours to farm up to 20. It's very much, what's kind of the point? Especially when the only real way to do so on Sorcerer is to play low health, get damage reduction while injured on your boots and your amulet and such, and I just don't really dig that playstyle, so I want to crack getting as far as possible without making your build literally just Abattoir of nothing, and that's what I like about this. This is a rockin' version of Ball Lightning that isn't just for Abattoir, though it does very specifically destroy it, but you can happily just exist like this until Season 3. So, without further ado then, let's get on with what might very well be my final Season 2 build. Unless there's anything specifically you guys really want to see revisited, like Ice Spikes or Fireball, then do let me know down below, and I'm happy to do that. And if I happen to discover anything particularly bonkers, I will want to share that too, but I think we are in a good place. In any case, let's go. Now, engaging skill tree. Look, I have to come up with a different way to say it each time. I'm trying my best. Beginning with 2 points in to your ever-reliable Firebolt to both get to core and, of course, to go into our first enchantment slot for that sweet more damage to burning, more damage less taken from burning, you totally got what I meant there, and all of the other such treats and goodies enemies being on fire provides us. It's essentially required to hit the damage heights we need to hit in Abattoir. And then we go over here and grab 1 point of potent warding. This is essentially a leftover point, so this can go anywhere that you want, but I like the little bit of extra maximum resist that it provides. Then we want to get ourselves charged bolts and take it down to destructive, just to essentially permanently apply a 25% damage done reduction to all of our enemies, because we will permanently have unstable currents up, which means we're constantly sending out charged bolts. Grab yourself devastation along with 3 ranks in dominance for that 9% multiplicative, and then get over to your defensives. Grab your flame shield and take it all the way to shimmering. The heal is nice, the barrier that it gives in conjunction with protection is nice, and 2 seconds of immunity is everything in Abattoir, and generally is always awesome anywhere, really. Teleport for that sweet movement, for the group stunning, because yes, we will be using raiment here, and we'll get to why a little bit later, and also the huge amount of DR that it keeps up, as we will be teleporting on average more than once every 3 seconds. Then we get 1 rank of elemental attunement just so we can do the reset, and then a 1 rank into ice armor for extra barrier uptime, as with this setup we're aiming to quite literally have 100% hefty chunky barrier uptime, and it contributes not only a lot to our survivability but even more to our damage, and again more on that later. Then we go over to conjuration, where you want to get 3 into precision because we want a little bit of extra lucky hit, and then 3 into conjuration mastery, as the extra damage that it will stack onto us thanks to the amount of ice blades we will have out and the amount of lightning spears we will have out from unstable currents is absolutely stratospheric. And I do apologize if my voice is a little bit off today. I am recovering from being ill, but I will not let that stop me from giving you guys the builds you deserve. 2 ranks in to align the elements. Again, the extra rank is a point left over. You technically could put 3 out of 3 and not get any point and warning. It's up to you, but this damage reduction is definitely nice. 3 into mana shield for permanent 21% DR, and then protection, so all of our abilities give us barriers, which is super important, especially so here. Then 1 of the 2 stars of the show, the other being of course the standard ball lightning, but Ice Blades does so much work for us. We want to grab summoned so it can start cooldown reducting all of our skills, and then we put this in our second enchantment slot. Because we are using unstable currents on cooldown thanks to Flicker Step, alongside blasting, spamming Ice Armor, Flame Shield, Teleport, and then Ice Blades itself, the amount of Ice Blades we summon is silly. Especially when you get to the tanky Bloodseekers, you will just have 6 blades sat on them, damaging them, but more importantly, resetting all of your cooldowns, which is all of your barrier generation, over and over and over again, and it takes you to hyperspeed when it comes to this playstyle, and it is so good in every sense. Then we go over to Mastery, where we get Inner Flames in order to get Devouring Blaze, one of the many benefits of the Firebolt enchantment. It is a big multiplicative increase, and it will be the 60% because Immobilize will be part of this build. Then you want the full 5 into Ball Lightning, over to Enhanced for the tick rate up, and then Wizards for that sea of crackling energy, which will be our primary source of mana thanks to Invigorating Conduit, which you want to max out. Then we go over to Unstable Currents, and then Prime, and finally Supreme. Now we do want Supreme because while I currently have Via's Mastery, and that's what you want to choose, we will also be having Overflowing Energy. Yeah, we will technically have 2 key passives in this build, which is very cool and a little trick that I'm excited to tell you about. But for now, grab Coursing Currents and then 3 out of 3 Electrocution, reduction for more damage reduction to finish things off, and there you have your tree. Affixes, uniques, aspects, gems, all of that loveliness is what's coming up now. So, you want back to dagger and focus. I say back if you were using a Havarion before like I was. Technically, this is still fine, and you can just equip it and lose the two aspects that I'm about to share with you, but it does start to sadly kind of drop away when you go up the ranks. I really want to keep it on, because if you could choose what shrine buff you get, yeah, it really is amazing, and it's very even on damage, but because we're focusing so heavily on having 100% barrier uptime, which wasn't the case before, the two aspects, Storm Swell for 30% more multiplicative while you have a barrier, and Conceited for 25% multiplicative while you have a barrier, combined add more damage than the affixes on a Havarion. Coupled with the still very good affixes on the focus and dagger, yeah, it just pulls ahead, and hey, doesn't require you to have an Uber Unique, so I suppose that's a plus too. Make sure you do have a dagger for the damage to close enemies, and we are ready to move on to Gravitational, the ball lightning orbits. This powers everything, always make sure you have this, and then we want Disobedience on your amulet. This will take your armor up to about the 14k that you require in Abattoir, and it will stay there the entire time because you are essentially constantly fighting. Over to your helmet, where you want Mage Lords for the Via's Mastery extra damage reduction. That extra 27% is a big help, and then we're good for uniques. Tal Rashas, as you might expect, big stacking multiplicative damage and stellar affixes, especially the non-physical damage. Then we have Flicker Step, so we have permanent unstable currents uptime. Being able to press it this often means lots of Ice Blades, and lots of survivability, and lots of damage, and just, it's excellent. Then we want Tibalt's Will for the multiplicative increase in damage, and the extra resources is nice. The resource gain is very nice. It's just an incredibly solid item to have, especially when we will be teleporting as often as we will be. Talking of teleporting then, Raiment of the Infinite. Yes, that has snuck its way back in. Look, ultimately, you need the damage, but more than anything, being able to constantly spam group enemies so you can kill them all at once with your Rings of Ball Lightning is just required for pushing those higher tiers and beating the timer. It really makes a notable difference, and it's something that we need to work with. And as you've been seeing, I am nowhere near anything approaching squishy, even with this swap, so it just works out in our favor. Now, technically speaking, you can put a defensive chest on and then use Godslayer Helmet instead if you want to do it that way round, which is a little bit tankier, but you really don't have to. Then we get to Fists of Fate. This, as it turns out, is MVP in Abattoir of Zir, and works well generally everywhere. The primary resource restore is nice, the chance to gain damage is really nice, the chance to daze, yeah, okay, but the immobilize to activate the super damage from Devouring Blaze is lovely. And the attacks randomly dealing 1 to 300%, which is an average of at least 150%, so another 50% gain, is also really solid, and a good bit of Fists of Fating is really how you can climb the mountain that is the higher health, higher tier Bloodseekers. Really cannot recommend this enough, given, you know, that's why it's in the build that I'm recommending you. So then when we look at our affixes, this is what you are after. Offensively, you want critical strike chance, you want critical strike damage, you want ranks of Devouring Blaze, ranks of Ball Lightning, and you want attack speed. Then lucky hit chance, cooldown reduction, critical strike damage with lightning, then you want your general intelligence, and any other random like damage to close, vulnerable damage, mastery skill damage, and you are golden. Defensively, you need to make sure that you have percent total armor, at least on your helmet and your necklace. Now, I don't have it, I'm waiting for that movement speed to roll at the enchanter into % armor, and when it's there, I will be very rosy. But yes, you want at least 2% armor increases. Then any general damage reduction is nice, as is health, as I mentioned before, and that is about all. So, we end up in quite the nice situation when it comes to our damage reduction. A hefty amount from close, hefty amount from elites, the little bit of all is great, the vulnerable, the burning, I mean, it all adds together to be really sturdy, especially given that we're not playing low health damage reduction while injured, as that's just really irritating to function. We'll go over Vampiric powers real quick before we get into actually how to play this and what's going on. We want ourselves Ravenous for that just permanent insane attack speed buff. It helps in all of the ways, as we well know by now. The usual duo of Prey on the Weak and Accursed Touch to apply vulnerable to everyone all of the time. Then we have Infection to get yourself the 4th stack of Rasha from Poison. Though, little tip here, if you get the 4th stack in the dungeon, you can then quickly swap the power out for a defensive power like Resilience, and as long as you keep damaging things before you lose the 4 stacks, you will keep the 4th poison stack. So if you really want to min-max, you can do that, and that's quite neat. Then we have Domination, as we will be Raymonting constantly. This is a nice 24% multiplicative, and you really do feel it every time you teleport. And just to really hammer it home, when you do have your max disobedience up, you want to make sure that you have about 14k armor, which is where I'll be once that movement speed is % armor, and that's kind of how you know you're ready. So before we truly go into how to pilot this, let's talk the double key passives. So essentially what you do is you load into the Abattoir of Zir dungeon with Via's Mastery as your choice. Then you swap to Overflowing Energy, and you will keep Via's Mastery effect on. You will keep the damage reduction. You will keep even the Mage Lord's aspect that now technically shouldn't work, but it still does. This way, we can use the effects of Via's Mastery passively in the background and the Mage Lord's aspect, while also having the Overflowing Energy to reduce the cooldown on our teleport. We don't really need it to help Unstable Currents because of Flicker Step, but we do want it to help the teleport as much as it can, as the teleport is everything here, especially with Raiment of the Infinite increasing its cooldown. And yes, obviously put Flicker Step on. I feel like I somehow forgot that during the gear section. With that all in mind then, let's dive into some dummies. As you can see, we end up on it and then just start absolutely spamming all of our abilities essentially as soon as they come up. The ultimate's already back, there we go again, and we have 4 Ice Blades, 5 Ice Blades, 6 Ice Blades, all of them just consistently reducing the cooldown on all of our skills that matter. This is kind of how you want to operate. Just teleport very selectively onto the biggest, densest pack, get your flame shield up, stand there for the 2 seconds immune, do a little bit of a shimmy, keep jumping through them with your dodge, reduce the cooldown on your ultimate, and then just be aware of nasty explosions on the floor. This kind of does reduce the build to a just press everything as soon as it comes off cooldown and witness the glorious results. Like, you can see that we are having Ball Lightning tick for, well, millions, which is beautiful. And that's about that. You can see it both here, and you can see it in how I play the actual Abattoir too. This is a very spammy situation, but it's one that you do need to think about a little bit, mainly with your teleport location. Obviously, consistent grouping up and stunning is great, but don't teleport on top of like an explosion and accidentally get one-shot. You want to keep that in mind always as you progress through, but more than anything, as long as you have a barrier up all of the time, you're probably good to just stand there and kill things with your ball lightning. And now that we can't get suppressors on the Bloodseekers, we don't even have to really worry about that either. I would definitely recommend still stringing them out, running away, killing them in a group of 2 and then a 1, or a 1 then a 2. That makes things easier. Definitely save a shrine to grab just as the Bloodseekers spawn. That's also really nice. But other than that, you just have to dodge the main big explosions on the ground and then spam every ability on cooldown while tanking on their face, grouping them up and stunning them repeatedly with Raiment and Teleport. And even if we just have a little go here, you can see how we are able to just summon a ridiculous amount of Ice Blades without actually interacting with the dummies ourselves in any kind of deliberate manner. It's a little bit less because we're not dodging through them and using our ultimate every time it comes off cooldown, but even without our help, you can just consistently keep this army rolling, which is how we get this consistent cooldown reduction cycle. It is just fantastic. Paragon board to finish things up. Follow me point for point. You know how it be. So let's see. Get your resilience. We want the life. We want the resist to all. And then over to the right through Elementalist and up here via the intelligence in order to activate Elementalist the glyph for that 15% extra multiplicative and the bonus to your non-physical and even more all resist. Get ourselves nice and capped. Go up through the non-physical damage onto our first board, the Heart of Sorcerer, the Enchantment Master. We want the usual trio as we go up and right, and then up to the middle, splitting off to grab Ruinous and Elementalist, and then the glyph is reinforced for that damage reduction with a barrier, which we now really do have 100% of the time, so it is felt. Then up and to the right, we need that little bit of willpower through Erudite, and then over to Burning Instinct. So, head down to the glyph, which is where the Tears of Blood goes. Naturally then, grab every single node that you can to give stats to power it up to the maximum amount, and then Cinders 2, and of course Smouldering Embers to both get enhanced by the Blood glyph. Over to the middle for Kindling, we might as well go through it to grab that little bit of an extra. We can branch off here to go get Keeper of Flames for even more damage reduction while burning. I found that this does help to have even on top of the boost to this node from Tears. Then we go up and then left to get Safeguard, grab the extra little bit here. Sadly we don't have the spare points to get the last one, but every little does help. Continuing all the way up to your Static Surge. We of course don't need Static Surge now that we're using Ice Blades, so we're going to head straight right, go through the extra damage to stunned, which is more impactful than ever thanks to Raiment being back, and the extra mana is super useful too for that ball lightning spam. Then we can head up, get the extra little bit of dex, and Destruction is now located here. We no longer need to grab Electro or anything, we can just go purely up, get Incapacitate, get the extra dexterity, activate Destruction, and then move on with our lives, heading downwards into your Frigid Fate. So straight down, make sure this is the orientation, so Oppressive is at the top right, go to said top right and just go straight through and past it, then split off left here to go to the glyph slot, and then realize that I actually had a point over here that I can reassign. That's convenient. That means I can actually perfectly get the damage reduction from Elite. So there you go, a full-on, as you do, right here with me, improvement to the Paragon board. Hey! Anyway, then we want to go through to the glyph slot, getting the intelligence along the path in order to activate Adept for the bigger ball lightning and the more damaging ball lightning. So we'll need the 10 intelligence from chilling here, and then we can go down through weakness all the way to Frigid Fate itself for that extra multiplicative to vulnerable. Then we want to take the right path in to our final board, which is your Ceaseless Conduit board in this orientation. So Galvanic Catalyst is bottom left, and mainly this is just to give us an extra glyph in the form of Territorial for the damage reduction from close and a little bit of extra damage too. Head over past this lightning damage to said Galvanic Catalyst, get the extra dex to activate it, and we are finished. That is your complete lovely Paragon board path that I'm still so very proud of just how slick and to the point it is, not missing anything we need, and no wasted points. Except the one that we found, but we'll not talk about that. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, that is how it all boils down. The new, improved, the supreme way to play Ball Lightning, especially in Abattoir of Zir. That infusion of Ice Blades making all the difference for our defensive spam, which leads to so much more damage and thus faster clears, and I really am happy with it. If you do have Harlequin Crest, by the way, feel free to equip it, but then you do need to drop Tybalt's Will to have your Mage Lords on it and have a defensive legs, so it's actually not like a crazy upgrade. You do need to make that swap, just in case you are wondering if you are lucky enough to have one. Other than that, good luck, really. Let me know how you are doing in your pushing. Do you care to do it, or are you just interested in seeing how everyone does get on as more and more tiers are beaten? I imagine either as I'm saying this, or very much not long from now, a Barbarian will crack 25. Sorcerer seems to be stuck at the 2021, even with the near immortal low health version, which is certainly a shame to see, but hey, that's kind of the point of the mode, right? You're not supposed to make it to the end. It's really a testing ground that I think definitely has some flaws. There should be a little bit more reward to it. Uber Unique should drop from it, but I hope they use the feedback and all of the data they will have to make the Season 3 challenge dungeons as perfect as they can be. For now then, as I said, let me know if there's anything else Sorcerer that you are very keen to have me go over, but for now, I think, yeah, I am pretty pleased with this final form of Ball Lightning. Until we meet again, consider liking this video if you did indeed like it, subscribing for more, and supporting the channel on Patreon down below. Goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.